You're listening to Hall and Hudd. Two guys talking about things. This show contains strong language. Listener discretion is advised. Let's start the show.
Word on computer. So how you been, man? I feel like we just talked a couple days ago, right?
We did. I kept it as Terry brief as I could, which still is about 8 hours, 8 hour call. But yeah, we did talk about things. But I think it was it pre WandaVision finale?
It was pre finale because I was like, hey, we got to talk about the finale when it happens. I feel like it was like Thursday, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't seen it yet. But I was like, we have to meet after and then talk about it.
Right, you did.
Yeah.
But I'm digging it. I'm kind of glad that Marvel has kept the pace of its storytelling congruent to where they're not trying to cram in every bit of fan fiction and fan service they can. Yeah. Whereas,
I felt like they did that. You know, we kind of thought they were going to overdo it, but they didn't.
They didn't. They even with the Quicksilver thing, they're bringing in the X-Men. Like, why the fuck would they bring in the X-Men in a 9-episode, half an hour TV show? Like, there's no need. Nobody was gladder than me that Mephisto didn't show up. Because the plot didn't have any room for it, and it would have been condoning what I consider terrible storytelling best practices by not having your main villain integrated into the story from the beginning. A fallback I have is Star Wars. I beat it with a dead horse. But who is the first motherfucker you meet?
Darth
the villain.
Vader. Yeah.
Right? Who's the first motherfucker you meet in fucking WandaVision? You meet WandaVision and then the fucking villain. You might not know it's the fucking villain, but you got to set the villain up. Yeah. You know, and what people were wanting was like an emperor style, like, hey, guess what? I'm buying everything. It's like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Not in this particular story.
Yeah, I feel like they did a very good job of like setting up the story as this is what it's going to be. And to expect otherwise is kind of going to get you, you know what I mean? Like you're not seeing what it actually is if you're expecting something else.
And now we're off into Star Wars, but she was the first.
Actually, hold on. We got to do an intro. We didn't do an intro. We just started talking. So I'm gonna make you put some structure on this. So hold on.
Welcome to the Hallspace Podcast. It's about connections. I'm your host, Dr. Ritch Hall, and this is a weekly conversation about whatever and however I see to connect things. For people who want to connect, chat, and learn a thing or two about a thing or two. Without further ado, let's start the show.
Hello, I'm Ritch Hall. This is the Hallspace Podcast, and I'm sitting here with a friend of mine whom you know, Terry Huddleston. Terry, say hi to the people.
Hello.
And we're here today to talk about WandaVision.
Yes, we are. WandaVision and nothing else.
I'm sorry, I missed what you said. What'd you say?
I said WandaVision and nothing else.
We are going to try to keep it contained because we know how loquacious you can get on any subject. So we're going to try to keep it contained to just WandaVision. So this is going to be just an hour-long conversation about the recent Disney Plus Marvel show, WandaVision, which aired its series finale, maybe. We don't know. You know, they like money over at Disney. But aired its series finale on Friday. And the world is taking it in. And I wanted to spend some time talking about it because I was thoroughly enjoying it.
Yes, same here. What's interesting is I feel like WandaVision is a kind of pretty much an amalgamation of everything that Disney is good at already. And so I was surprised at how much I was surprised by things like, oh my God, they put a musical in here. Oh my God. And it's like, well, Disney puts a musical in everything they do. At least they used to.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, Agatha's such a great villain. Oh my God. And it's like, wait a minute. Disney has always came with the heat with villains. That's all we like from Disney is the fucking villains.
Well,
and I realized that Agatha is just, a Disney villain. She's Cruella de Vil in Hades and Ursula and, just all amalgamated.
Yeah, a little bit of hocus pocus. Yeah, she's definitely in the Disney format of what a villainous witch would be.
But at the end, they even gave her like villain eyebrows. I was loving it. I was eating it up with a spoon. How cartoonishly villainous she was. Yeah. And then the fucking boots underneath the house. Oh,
definitely using the iconography, which is, definitely a Disney thing. I want to back up a little bit. Let's just start at the beginning of what it is. I don't want to do a full recap, but I do want to kind of run through some of the beginnings of Wanda and Vision. I wasn't necessarily a fan of them from the comics. They were a little bit before my time reading comics.
I was.
You were?
Yeah, certified OG fan. You can ask anybody that's known me that I got the artwork to prove it. Whenever I would do a new run of art since 2007 when I started my art career, Vision and Scarlet Witch were always among the first things I drew. Just because I like OG Avengers. And so a lot of stuff they're doing now is really super old school stuff that I cut my comic book teeth on when I started reading comic books. So, yeah.
And so what is it about the two that you feel like draws you to them in particular?
Well, they got what Marvel did. One of their secret ingredients that that DC could never get right is that Stan Lee was a romance writer. Like he wrote romance comic strips before he did. And so he nailed the drama of the relationships while
melodrama.
Yeah, he melodrama without the music, but still drama nonetheless. And so there's that, the fact that, I'm very Vision-like, where I'm a very pragmatic, on the spectrum. So I'm very analytical, see things one way. And then my wife is very empathic. And so I definitely can vibe with that relationship. Like, goddamn, that's me and my wife right there. Like, she's way more powerful, but I'm way more analytical. So,
yeah,
together we make a good team. And then, of course, Stan Lee knew even back then, if something's too good, you gotta fuck it up somehow and break them apart.
If people love it, you gotta kill your darlings. Yeah.
Yeah, typical soap opera stuff. So when Vision,
I like that's a good balance. You gotta have a balance of that, where things the drama is in the conflict, basically.
Right. The drama is in getting back something you feel like the main character deserves, or taking away something that you feel like is harming the main character. You gotta have them on one polarity or the other. And so, obviously it depends on which flavor you come into that trope. Because like I mentioned before, Jean Grey and Scott Summers are very similar in their dynamic. And then, Wolverine is pretty much the metal man stand-in, like, hey, I love her and I gotta kill her, I thought they might have gone there, but I did like the fact that in the TV show they definitely kept Wanda. She was the dom in the relationship. Like, she didn't dress like she at the end for no reason. She was definitely the dom, and that too. And he was pretty much, her plaything, whether you like that analogy or not. Like, that episode when he was like, "You can't control me like the others," and she gives him a look. And I'm pretty sure I've gotten from my wife as well. Like, but can't I?
Yeah,
but can't I? And then trying to throw. I'm like, damn.
Yeah. I felt that. I did feel that. So I want to back up even to the very beginning. I will say I was intrigued by the premise of this. Like, we're getting a WandaVision show, and there's an element of what is that even going to be? And then, you see the Vision comic and the other things where they're like, oh, it's going to probably pull from some of these old stories. So I was skeptical, but curious, just because it seemed like it was going to bend. At this point, we could say that even though Marvel has played around with genres, there are a lot of differences in the way they've, there's pretty much a Marvel standard, I will say.
Yeah.
And so what they were pitching didn't seem like it would necessarily fit the mold of Marvel's story.
See, that's what's weird. That's what I'm talking about. About I can't believe it's because you're compartmentalizing Disney and Marvel. Like Disney did umpteen seasons of a psychic lady that can see the future and has to get out of shenanigans in a sitcom format called That's So Raven, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, they've done these, everything that they're doing in WandaVision, they perfected in other formats. And so, yes, it's like, as far as comic book stuff goes, it's really novel. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe they pulled this off. But then when you stand back, you're like, wait a minute, Disney owns Pixar. Like this is pretty much a Pixar fucking movie, live action.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's Inside Out, dude. Come on. Like I said, they know how to do these movies and TV shows.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely got the elements of that make it make sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's got the elements of all the stuff they've already done. Like what if you were inside of a little girl's head and it was just, you know, and so they and all that stuff. They know how to hit you with the feels of people losing their spouse and grief and all that. Like Marvel knows how to do this shit. Now Warner Bros knows how to do it, but it's not inside of an umbrella like it is with Disney. So
yeah, I feel like Warner Brothers hasn't quite, you know what I mean? Like they seem to have lost that edge.
Well, see, I say Warner Brothers on purpose and not DC, because Disney pretty much makes people share their talent amongst the corporation.
Yeah,
right? Love them or hate them, they basically can beg, steal, and borrow from each other. Whereas Warner Brothers, it's still a lot of independent people doing independent things.
Yeah,
but Christopher Nolan ain't coming over to help Zack Snyder out.
Well, technically,
yeah, I know he did. I know he was Man of Steel. I know he did, but if you look at that, he was very like.
Yeah, but that's
like,
also, you know, Christopher Nolan isn't because they originally wanted Christopher Nolan. They were like, hey, you did good with Batman. Why don't you build our DC?
Yeah, they paid him to put his name on that garbage movie, and you know, but we won't get into that right now. But
right.
Whereas I feel like WandaVision is Disney extruding everything that they've mastered. From cartoons to musicals, because Disney writes a lot of musicals.
Oh yeah.
And they got writers for that Agatha all along. That shit's a fucking banger. That come on the radio, it's gonna be a number one song, even though it's too damn short. But still,
yeah. Still,
who didn't have that shit stuck in their damn head for a week and a half?
Yeah,
you know. Yeah. So, you know, they got it.
Yeah, they have a number of talents that they definitely can bring to bear for something like this. Yeah,
they got the squad. I mean, they literally are a Justice League of talent sets. So, and they got enough money and they got enough influence now to pull in whoever they need to. And I know there's the tendency to want to hate on Disney. I do think the fact that they let them have such a monopoly on so many different brands is a problem, is an issue. But that's like citizen me. But fan me knows that Disney knows how to fucking make shit work.
Right.
And fan me also knows that Disney did have their dark ages. Not too long ago, early 2000s, Disney was hurting.
Oh, yeah.
They were doing John Carter from Mars and other shit that nobody really cared about. You know, John Carter from Mars was actually their first kind of attempt to try to do a action superhero movie.
Yeah, it was. They failed so miserably.
It failed miserably. It's got a fan base out there. Don't get me wrong, but
does it?
I mean, I didn't.
Does it? Does it have a fan base under the age of 60?
It does.
John Carter of Mars has a fan base under the age of 60.
Okay, well, you put that caveat on there, it drops off exponentially. But yeah, I'm sure there's some people under.
That's always the thing when we're talking about IPs. It's like Marvel is basically taking these very old IPs. And because of Kevin Feige's age and experience at this point, he's just pulling from his era, and we just happen to be aligned. You know what I mean?
Like, yes and no. I think what he's good at, and I saw this with Ryan Murphy from Effects, the guy that runs all those American horror. Yeah. Because you can ding him for the American Horror Story because some of them are terrible, some of them are great, but he's got the other American Crime and all that stuff. Those are like some of the best shit people never talk about. the murder of Versace and shit like that. But anyway, what he said is that he realized that he was talented, but he never be good enough to be great. But what his skill set is knowing people who are, like, if I give them a little bit of support, they can be great. And I think Feige has that in him. So, and people with that mindset, and I consider myself one of those people to know, like, yeah, I'm good, but I'm never going to be great at X. So I'm going to acquiesce and let somebody else step in this lane. Is that he basically has been able to aggregate a bunch of different talent around him and let them do their thing.
Yeah.
Like, because, you know, he's not in there like, you know, we need to, like, they have the rigid template, right? But at the same time, you know, we're getting so many different styles within that template. Like, Ant-Man doesn't feel like Black Panther.
No.
And Black Panther doesn't feel like WandaVision.
Yes.
You know, there's a thread, but that, you know, they got different, they figured out a way to basically give us the same base carbonated drink with different flavors.
Right.
We get to pick our different, you know, and so, yeah, the substance of what we're drinking is the same, but the flavors are very distinct. And that's all entertainment is. It's like, it's going to be a movie with people saying things and doing stuff. It's the liquid. It's like, now flavor that. Okay, I'm going to use the crime flavoring. I'm going to use the sci-fi flavoring. Like, you know, you can't not do certain things. Some people nitpick so much about the superhero genre, and I think it's unfair because they feel like they got this winner argument, like, all these movies are the same, and these superhero movies are killing Hollywood. I'm like, okay, guys. Like, I don't know what purity tests that you think Hollywood, you know, passed a long time ago, but they've always put out more of what sells than not. I.e. crime noir, fucking cowboy movies, slashers, whatever was hot. There was going to be a million iterations of it.
Right. No, it's the way it's always been. There's always a genre that Hollywood minds until it cannot, and then it moves on. So Hollywood
itself is a commercial entity. It's not an art house, you know, thing for expressing yourself. It's not YouTube for movies. It's you know, it's a corporation or conglomerate of corporations that want to make a bunch of money. Now, I get you know, it's some people do the same thing with music. They kind of have this assumption that music was pure at one point, but now it isn't. Like, no, they had, if one guy had a hit song, they were going to put out 100 songs that sound just like it.
Right.
And then it become a thing called wait for it, a genre. You know, you get one guy doing Beach Boy music, and they're like, man, that's a cool hip sound. The kids are eating it up. Let's get 100 more people to do it. Same thing's happening with movies and music right now. That's why everybody's going, yeah, hey, skirt. You know, it's all the same. You know, I'm like, okay, that's a trend. Okay. So this is going to dovetail back into WandaVision. This is why we got to respect the fact that they took that formula and bent it to around a TV show format, but it's a TV show about TV shows.
Right. Because, and about the role TV plays in our understanding of the world and ourselves. Our perception of the world. Not to put too fine a point on it, but I felt like they really had an acute critique on how TV skews our perception. Like, you think Wanda's a victim in all this. She's being trapped. Who's doing this to you, Wanda? And then, you know, but I was always suspicious just because of my knowledge of how tragedies work. Yeah, I wasn't sure. And when we get to closer to the end, I'll give some more thoughts, but like, I wasn't sure they were going to be willing to make her this somewhat villainous character.
I can see why you would do that, but I'm telling you,
I thought they were really going to steer away from that.
The mandates of this Greek-style tragedy, she had to be. This is the epic tragedy on a not epic in that, like epic, but like epic as in scope, where you have a person. Once again, if you take it out of a superhero genre, she's a goddess. Yeah. She's a grieving goddess. Those stories never end. Yeah. They never end with the grieving goddess being the good guy there. It's like she cried a river and flooded a whole city, and that's where this lake comes from. It's a tower underneath there. Look, even if it's mythology, their pain is always felt by the Earthlings, the people, the mortals, I should say, not the Earthlings. The mortals always feel the pain of the
and I think we're not used to that. When we're not used to Greek pantheon stories because we're used to hero stories where it's like, oh, there's a tragedy, that there will be some pain felt, but ultimately, the good guy persists and his life is intact. And in many ways, there's a similarity thread here, but if you look at it through the lens of Greek tragedy, it's like, no. Like, she did something that messed up a bunch of people within her sphere. And in the end, she's so powerful that she can't really be touched.
I was actually glad that they still held her at least morally accountable at the end, because the podcast I was in was right before the finale, and I said I didn't want Wanda to be redeemed in the end. Not like full redemption where she's an Avenger and she's out saving people. No. That, to me, that would be disingenuous. One, I was like, if she has to pay for her crimes. That's a storytelling law.
Is it?
Where it is. Of this
okay, I hear what you're saying. She doesn't get to keep her family. She doesn't get to keep her love, the love of her life.
No. So I brought up Little Shop of Horrors, where Seymour is feeding people to his plant. And not only is his plant growing, but his plant is also granting him wishes and making his life better. And in the movie, he does get the girl and everything kind of ends well. But in the original ending, which they changed because it didn't test well, Seymour gets killed and the alien plants take over the world. That's the real ending. And I'm watching this with my kids and I was like, that ending ain't right. Like, that's not right. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's not right about it. Then I went, and so I had this feeling before I even knew that they had.
Oh, you hadn't seen the play.
I hadn't seen the play, and I didn't know. But once again, story mandates can tell. If you got the instincts from, like, nah. It's like, maybe because I'm watching it with my kids. I just gave myself an answer. Like, why did I even think that? Like, hey, kids, you can sacrifice people to your, dark dreams, and it's going to work out fine. Just kill enough people.
Yeah.
Thumbs up, 10 out of 10. And once again, look,
they're kind of bad people.
Love the movie, but
Little Shop of Horrors is a classic.
It actually still holds up. The animatronics is nuts. So anyway, I didn't think Wanda should be redeemed. I'm glad that she had to make a sacrifice.
That brings me back to another thought that I had, and once again, I didn't want to do the ending without getting to that point in a sort of narrative. But like, I don't need courtrooms in my superhero fiction, and yet since Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen, like, they just keep adding courtroom scenes into these movies, into these stories.
You mean Dark Knight Rises?
Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller's
Dark Knight Rises?
Yeah, the original one. Yeah, Dark Knight Rises.
Okay, yeah, the Christopher Nolan.
No, Frank Miller's original. What was it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was Dark Knight Returns. Right.
Where there's this thread of, what happens if you add real world politics and legislature to the actions of superheroes that sort of legitimized comics in the 80s and suddenly made, every other superhero movie has to have a, press conference and the court of public opinion in it, which I feel like is a slog. I feel like it's one of those things that just really slows down a superhero movie because, it's a power fantasy, and who wants their power fantasy interrupted by legislature that always slows it down? Like the Sokovia Accords is the one thing about the Marvel cinematic movies. Now, there have been many, but it's a one misstep because, you can't keep having these movies if you have the Sokovia Accords. Like, the movies come to a stop.
I dig it. Yeah, I'm on the other end of the spectrum on that.
Do you? Because I feel like they don't hold. It's just a throwaway line they bring up. Like, oh yeah, the Sokovia Accords. Anyway, back to what we were doing.
Not really, because
basically, where's the movie since the snap where they've said, since Civil War, where they've said this still matters. There's still a UN board that has to decide where you go as a superhero.
I feel like you're gonna eat your words later, like when they roll out more movies. But
I refuse.
But and this is one of the things. If you don't, it's like, it doesn't hurt me in any fashion or form, because I'm that person that's like, man. I mean, the boys actually pointed it out even more acutely, but it's also in the MCU movies where these people are, for all intents and purposes, super cops. And so with what is going on in the real world, to ignore it is also saying something. Sometimes the absence of any kind of politics is politics. Like, I'm not going to say nothing about Batman just so happened to go around beat up a bunch of black people because they just so happen to be all the criminals in this city that we so happen to pick for crime to be fought in. And you go, I'm not trying to say anything. There's no need to bring in anything but it's like you're already saying it by not saying.
So I think we disagree on an element of this because I'm not saying no, never. And I do think you have to have a certain level of acknowledgement of, hey, what does this look like to the world? When Jim and I were talking about Superman, we briefly touched on Arrow, the show, and it's like, oh, he was just killing bad guys, whether they were, it was just a guy who's a lookout. Like, that dude might not have been dangerous to him, but he would just, shoot him with an arrow and move on. So I think the public has an awareness, but I don't think you need to have like a full on, we're going to have a court battle. You know what I mean? Like what was that? Was that Batman versus Superman? They're in court and it blows up and Superman's standing there looking morose.
I think you are thinking that's the genesis. Like the court system, the legal system has always been an intricate part of the power fantasy. Look at Dirty Harry. Dirty Harry.
Once again, you're going back to the 80s. You're going back to the 80s.
Well, I'm saying
always, like, not in the 60s, 70s, not in the golden age. And I think that's where I'm pulling from.
Not in the golden age of comic books.
Not as much. Not nearly as. I don't remember it through that lens.
Well, sure. I'll give it to you in the golden age of comic books, but I guess I'm thinking power fantasy and entertainment in general. There's always been the law of man that wants to keep you down. I mean, that's where the term vigilante comes from, because it's illegal. So the legal system don't look at you as a legal entity. So to me, it was the seed of it was always there from the beginning. It's like these people are wearing masks so they can hide their public identities so they don't go to fucking jail. So I get what you're saying, that you want no fetters, no strings, but personally, I think
I just don't want the story to be slowed down by it. Like, I feel like the story gets slowed down when suddenly, there's some politician who's talking and, So
you didn't like any X-Men, huh?
I felt like it got annoying. So the first one, I kind of liked.
I'm talking about the comic books. Like, that
wasn't okay. So politicians, one thing, like having to go sit in front of Congress and give a deposition.
I get it.
Is another.
I get what you're saying. But I will parse it out like this.
I do remember who was that senator? Who was the senator that was against them? I'm blanking on his name.
I know you're talking about. Yeah, they had Peter Dinklage play him.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the deal.
Bolivar Trask.
You don't have to like it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to get you to go, I like it now. I like the fact that it slows down the story. I'm not trying to. That's not why it wins.
I hate that it slows down the story, and that it's so necessary now.
I'm just trying to get you to realize that it's necessary. One, and two, that it does serve a purpose. Like it's a great.
Okay. So I'm not going to disagree with you as it serves a purpose. I think it's become its own cliche.
Sure.
It's being done over and over again. And here's the thing. We're in the middle of this conversation. This doesn't actually happen in WandaVision. I feel like in the end, she probably should be sitting in a courtroom, right? But also, I'm the guy who's against putting superheroes in the courtrooms. So,
well, I mean, and this is exactly what I'm saying. Like, I actually, for a second, I thought that she was going to get arrested. Like, she was going to let herself get arrested.
She should have totally been arrested.
But the fact that she was like, yeah, peace out.
That was hilarious.
I
felt like she should have at least apologized to the townspeople. She never really apologized.
Guess what? It made me feel it. The feeling reminded me of the Capitol riots, where you're like, yeah, this is going to totally change everything, right? You're like, oh, she just get the runoff?
Yep.
Like, what the hell?
And she's just going to catch something back home. You
got the crazy dude shooting at the kids. He going to be free in the next movie or if they ever show him again. Like, I'm running the Thunderbolts now or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
It's just like, and so it had that feeling of white people going crazy.
Mm-hmm.
They're fighting each other, they're destroying shit. The average Joe is getting hurt by the fallout, and then everybody gets to walk away scot-free.
Yeah.
Even Agatha. Not that she was the main bad guy, in my opinion. I think she was Wanda's antagonist, don't get me wrong, but it was she had more of a professional jealousy than I'm doing all the shit and Wanda's innocent. Because she would have been too much of a great scapegoat. And I'm glad they didn't scapegoat what Wanda did on the
I felt good that how they handled that. Like, she was more of a curious, like, what the fuck is going on over here? Yeah. And she's like, oh, no, I need to figure this out. And then she's got to like, so wait, how are you able to do this again? Like, how are you able to do this again? Like, no, wait, how? And I thought that was a great explanation in that one scene where she's like, you don't even know the rules of this. Like, you're just out here running wild. I want to.
You have had those conversations about each other.
Oh yeah.
Where you're like, man, fuck you, Terry Hiddleston. Just go out there and do your shit, and people, that ain't right. I gotta write all these words. And
right.
And I get it. I get it.
Because that would frustrate you if you spent like 100 years learning this magic stuff, and then only to find out that this person just able to do magnificent stuff without ever having any real training whatsoever. Like, you had to kill your whole family to make this work, and this person just sitting there, just playing around with it.
Yeah, and the jury's still out on that. With the way they played that, whether it was intentional or a byproduct the way her powers work.
Yeah,
it's kind of in that gray area where the first Batman Begins, where he's like, "I'm not gonna kill you, I'm not gonna save you either." And it's like, okay, Batman, that's not as deep as you think it is, Batman. But okay, whatever, Batman. So did she kill him, or did they kill themselves by trying to kill her? Yeah, and so even Agatha's motivation was interesting to me, because most villains, capital V villains, want the power to do a thing. But she's like, hey, let me take that off your hands first. Like, hey, Rod, you're like 10 years old, running around with a big ass gun. Let me hold on that. You don't know what you're doing with that.
Right.
Let me get that. Like, you gonna hurt yourself.
Yeah. Let me take that off your hands. Let me take that off your hands.
And that's how I'm not trying to downplay, but I do have Agatha colored glasses because I fucking love her character. I love that archetype. I love the talky villain archetype. Yeah, that's having fun being a bad guy.
She was definitely a charismatic figure for sure.
Yeah, she didn't take herself seriously, so we didn't have to either. She wasn't a joke, but we didn't have to take it so serious where it's like, I'm an anti-wit. Like, I pretty much the analogy would have like put her up against the chick in Suicide Squad, Banshee.
Yeah.
Like, I think her name was Banshee. Was it Banshee?
Which one are we talking about?
No, Enchantress. Enchantress,
yes, Enchantress, yeah.
Like, she was a take me seriously Hot Topic witch versus I'm pretty much drawing off the cartoon character. I mean, she looked like a fucking Disney cartoon villain, like I said. So Agatha did. So it was, they gave you permission to like her. I want to go back to your course thing real briefly.
Where I
would agree with you is if I'm watching Dragon Ball Z, and then after Goku and Vegeta get in a fight, then the next episode they're in a court for like 10 episodes. Like, I get what you're saying about escapism and power fantasies, but we're not in that. We're more in the Western.
We're too far gone. We're too far gone now.
Not that we're too far gone. It's just comic books now are more like Westerns than they are like anime. They're not just people fighting just to show power levels. It's more or less like, hey, one good cowboy is going to fight an evil cowboy, and then
the sheriff shows up. Yeah.
The sheriff shows up and he's going to hang the bad guy or whatever. Somebody's going to get caught by the law. Once again, where the term vigilante justice came from.
Right.
From the time, that's what I'm trying to tell you. It's built into the DNA.
Right.
Power fantasy is you get to go out. Like, you need the law to go outside of it, I guess.
Right. You need the trappings. You need the rules. You need the rules to break the rules.
Yeah. Captain America in Civil War needed the Scully Accord to be the badass he was. Otherwise, it's just like people doing whatever the hell they want to do. But now you have this extra layer that says, hey, you have to pick a side. And so just want to labor that point.
I hear you. And I see the benefit for drama. I guess I'm more annoyed when it becomes the trope for the trope's sake and doesn't say anything new about any of that.
My challenge to you.
You're challenging me now?
Get rid of it is to do it better. Like, how would you do the court scene better? Because I haven't done a good court scene yet.
No.
I agree with that. Like, it's always stuffy white guy says a snarky thing, and then a hero says something snarky back, and then it cuts We don't even need to see the fucking resolution of it. We just cut to something else.
Right.
Because it's perfunctory at this point. So I get you.
Right. When there's so many other interesting things you could be saying or doing at this time that I feel like it gets missed as a result of focusing on these courtroom things. That wasn't even, like I said, I don't even know how we got to belabor that point.
I know, but it is, though. It's an interesting
That's
point.
Hilarious.
And you probably just tired of fucking Congress in general, so.
Yeah, true. Particularly with, I mean, come on, if we're talking about Congress ain't even that effective. So when they be doing these movies and they be like, Congress is going to legislate, it's like, man, I wish Congress was influential enough to make superheroes go away.
They do that with people, too. They do that with, like, everybody hates Terry Huddleston all of a sudden. Like, every single person, like, right. I don't care what I do. I could eat a baby's face. It'd be like a cult that rises up like, well, he was just practicing his right to eat what he wants. And
right. There's going to be a talking head that's going to be pro Terry Huddleston.
Somebody's got to fucking be on the other side. That's just the way.
And so, when you're like, oh, no, the Congress is going to pass a law. You better watch out. And it's like, man.
But then everybody
ain't been effective since civil rights. What are you talking about? You know what it takes to get my rights?
They're outside picketing Superman or some shit. Like,
Right.
Like, it'd be some Nazi supporters. Like, he is the Ubermensch. He is our deity. You know, they'd be out to support that.
The idea that life is a little more complex and messy. And why is Superman even stopping to do that? This man's out putting out fires. Like, I'll holler at y'all when I'm done putting out, you know what I mean? When I'm done saving this airliner.
That could have been amazing. We'll get into the Superman beat Batman later. But one thing I will say is that, speaking of courts and judgments, now you got the wider government political body in any given story, but then there comes down to the eternal 1v1 court. And Marvel nails this every time. It's if I came at you, and we had this conversation many times over the years, like, Ritch Hall, you ain't shit, and your family ain't shit. That's a judgment call. Right? And they always have a moment like that where the villain calls out the hero in Marvel movies. And Marvel always does a great job of showing you why the person you're rooting for is worth rooting for.
Right. They just know to make that term has to happen.
Every time.
Yeah.
They got me even with their mediocre Captain America First Avenger movie. But when fucking Red Skull was like, you know, I was made from this and this and this, and what makes you so special, which was the same speech Zod gave Superman in Man of Steel, you know, almost word for word, but just you switch some things out. You know, I'm a super soldier and made from the best stock. What are you? And Captain America has the best. He's like, nothing. I'm just a boy from Brooklyn, which doesn't sound like anything on the face of it, but it's, hey, I'm a person that was once powerless with the power to do good. So therefore, that's why I do this shit. The same thing with the Leaper in Civil War, where you know, he's like, hey, you're nothing without that shield.
Captain America puts that shield down.
That shield behind his back, and then piece his monkey ass. Loved it. Hey,
this is a good time for us to stop and take a break, and then we'll come back and talk a lot more about WandaVision. So let me tell you about Anchor Podcast. It's the podcasting service that I use. Anchor.fm is the easiest way to make a podcast, and there are many different reasons why, but foremost is it's free. So you don't need to go out and buy a whole bunch of equipment. If you have a phone or a computer and a microphone, you can record and edit your podcast right on your phone or computer. So that's one major benefit, as well as the fact that they'll distribute your podcast to several different podcasting sites for you. Not only can your podcast be found on Anchor, it can also be found on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast as well. So you don't have to worry about going to all those different sites and setting yourself up. They'll do it for you. You can also make some money on your podcast. Say you have a podcast that only 5 people listen to on a regular basis. They don't limit you on how many subscribers you have to have in order to be able to make a little bit of change.
for your podcast to keep yourself going. So pretty much everything you need to start a podcast can be found at Anchor.fm. So go download the app either in the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, or go to Anchor.fm to get started. And I guarantee you, it'll make things so much easier for you, like it has for me.
So back to WandaVision, Dr. Ritch Hall with my friend Terry Huddleston talking about WandaVision for the Hallspace Podcast. Welcome back, everyone. And you were saying that you felt like WandaVision stuck the landing.
Yeah, WandaVision stuck the landing, and in a very similar way to Watchmen, which if you think
Watchmen,
about it, the TV show, they're very similar in their aesthetic, where you have a female character that's basically has a god in her pocket, to some extent, controlling a very kind of, lower personality man with godlike powers that's being subdued for whatever reasons. And so, I thought that was interesting. They have similar, you could tell the story structure was set up on a grid. So, every new revelation basically makes the rest of the story better. Because I know you said you didn't really like Watchmen that much.
I did say that. You've totally taken my words out of context. I said I had issues with it after thinking about it later, but that doesn't mean I didn't love it and enjoy it at the time.
I think that plot is airtight, personally. It's airtight.
Like I said, I have to rewatch it. I have to find the time in my life to rewatch it. But
now I will say, I rewatched it every time a new episode came out. I would go back and start from the beginning and then go into that episode. And it was one of the first shows I've ever done that with, and it was delicious. Yeah, because
I would have to do that, because with what I was left with after having passively watched the whole thing, I had a lot of thoughts that were just okay.
It's like a book. You can't skim it. You got to watch it. And like I said, the very first scene is her cracking eggs onto a thing, and that means jack shit until you're like, holy shit, wait a minute, it begins and ends with and so it's just they knew what they were doing with every little detail. Now, I'm not saying people have to like it, but it's one of the few books.
I feel like every episode of this where we talk pop culture, you try again to get me and the audience to enjoy Watchmen as a piece of comedic
it's just
content.
Like saying, hey, I'm going to do another one. Enjoy Moby Dick. Sometimes you're not going to enjoy it unless you have a little bit of art appreciation for the way it was set up. Because sometimes it's like me telling you a joke, and then if you got to explain the joke, obviously it's not funny. But maybe you see the technical craftsmanship of the joke. Would get to appreciate another joke in a similar format. I don't know. I just like TV that makes you watch it and basically think about what you're watching as it's happening, as opposed to fucking Exposition Fest TV, which is now regular TV. And even WandaVision, whenever they were outside of the Hex, it turned back into regular TV, and it's my favorite part of the show.
It would. They would do a lot of it. They would do info dumps, but they kind of had to, because I felt like that was, okay, so we know you stuck with us for 2 episodes of what looked like a sitcom. We'll just let you know it was weird, right? It was weird. But we also know it was weird. So here we're going to tell you what we think is going on.
And that's why I gave.
Are we okay? You still with us? You sticking with us?
And that's why I watch more slack on it.
And we're going to give it to you. Like, I thought that was a master stroke to give us two to three likable characters that are going to tell us this info dump, as opposed to making you meet new people. Like, you like these 2 people? Well, trust them. They're also weirded out by all this. Right. They could be your surrogate, right? By giving us Darcy and Jimmy Woo, it's like, hey, they also don't get it, right? So it's okay if you're a little confused. If you could just stick with us, we'll figure it all out.
And that's exactly what they were there for. They were training wheels for the show. I call this baby's first David Lynch TV show. And for people like, but But imagine if you're watching Twin Peaks and then they have like a commentary episode where just two people are like, oh, the Red Lodge means this and this. And it's like, I don't. But for me, though, I'm not going to lie. Like, this is my favorite genre. So I understand it more than most. Not to say I'm an elitist or anything. Mm-hmm. And so I understand that the average person is not going to be able to.
People have been mad confused by it. Like a lot of the people that I've seen, like I still have to make Nicole watch the whole thing because I knew if I just had her watch the first 2 episodes, she was going to check out. And it's like, nah, you got to get to at least episode 3. That's what I've been telling people. Like you got to get to at least episode 3, and they're only half-hour episodes, so it's not. I'm not asking you to make a huge investment.
People have been conditioned to want to be on board 100% of the time, all the time.
Yeah.
For the most part. For the most part.
Why wouldn't they? I mean, with the way media is created in America.
TV is like they're breaking. So he shot him with a blah, blah, blah bullet. Like, yeah, the bullet came from this angle. But that would mean DeMarco gave the money to the man. And I was watching
Don't make him do any work.
I was watching Power Book 2.
Yeah. That's hilarious. I wouldn't think that'd be a show for you.
No, I actually watched it too because I knew it was bad. I watched it to kind of troll my wife a little bit because she was acting like she's all down with all kind of stuff. I'm like, you don't like this type of stuff. And then I put it on. She was like, turn it off. She hates that kid's face. She hates his vocal pattern. It's just kind of off too. Like,
that's hilarious.
Enjoyable to see for the ladies. Mm-hmm. They're shallow too, people, and not able to listen to. Because it's kind of got like a lazy tongue or something. So it's like, oh man, this is a double whammy. But I loved it because the dialogue was so on the nose and terrible.
Right. First pass. It's first pass dialogue. Like we need them to say something. They said something. Let's move on. You got the information you need. Let's move on to the next thing.
Well, Ritch Hall, if you don't do this, then you're going to go to jail for 20 years and your son's going to be abandoned and he's going to grow up and be a killer just like his father was.
Look, I got to, all right? I got to make my money. And then...
The money is everything, and it's going to lead to you losing people you love and care about.
Look, I'm about this paper, all right? That's what I've been about. That's what I'm going to be about. I'm from the streets.
But maybe you should learn to be about something else. And you can just see somebody going, that's going to be the theme of this season. Jesus Christ. And so that's a show that has, I mean, look, I don't want to pick on that show because
no. But it's a good example of, I mean, particularly if, I know you cut your teeth on The Wire. So it's been fascinating to me. I'm in a Wire group on Facebook. It's fascinating to me when people bring up Power as, isn't it a good successor for the one? It's like, nope.
Hell no.
No.
First of all, nothing has been a successor to The Wire.
They
don't have the balls to write something that's truthful.
Yeah.
Like the Wire is a unicorn. I don't mean to like rose-colored glasses it.
No. It is. It's truly a remarkable one-shot thing. Yeah.
Like whenever sociology comes up, the fucking Wire comes up. For a reason. Not The Sopranos and not fucking Breaking Bad, because they fucking gloss right around that shit.
Right.
Because they're doing power fantasies.
Right.
So it's funny when you go back to The Wire. The Wire had a lot of court scenes.
Yeah,
they were well written court scenes.
Right,
and even your superhero character Omar is in court.
Right,
and it's one of the best scenes. Like I got the shotgun, you got the briefcase.
Right,
bars.
Right. Well, it tells you something about it. The Wire was very good at telling you something about the system, something about the institutions, and something about the character, which is like really hard to do. Like, how do you tell a story on 4 different levels like that?
They storyized it. Like each season had a story, which is the hardest thing to do when you're doing fiction that wants to come off like nonfiction.
Right.
And it's really the parts of The Wire that probably ace the least well, because once you already know where the story is going, you can see the setups for it.
Yeah, absolutely. But they're still good setups. It's like, you know the person's a liar telling the story, but it's still such a good story that it's like, I'm with you. Story. I'm with you. I'm sticking with it. Oh, you said you're paying off a long-term dividend here, aren't you? Man.
They really did.
Man, you doing it this early? So, you doing this season 1, episode 3? Wow.
And so speaking of The Wire, I'll bring it back to Marvel.
Right.
it's one of the reasons why I liked Spider-Man Homecoming so much. Mm-hmm. Just because they had the Vulture character was kind of on a different layer of the MCU that we normally don't get to see. I've said this before, said this again in another conversation. I'm always going to fuck with blue-collar villains.
Yeah.
Because I can relate to that shit. I'm a blue-collar motherfucker myself.
Right.
And this dude, like, dude, I'm just trying to build shit and combine shit together and basically pretty much live off the wreckage of what these powerful people are doing.
Right.
And you don't realize it until somebody like me points it out. We don't get a lot of blue-collar representation.
No.
And I'm not talking about rednecks and shit. I'm talking about the guy that, like, dude, I'm just a plumber and I get hit with a lightning bolt and now I'm Mario Brothers and a thing.
Right.
Like, it's like you think there's a lot of it, but there really isn't. It's always some kid that's like, oh yeah, he's pretty much the king. He just doesn't know it.
Right. It's always it's a lot more aristocracy. Secretly.
Upper middle class to fucking super rich.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, it's Star Wars. He was secretly the prince who had been banished.
Yeah, exactly.
And now he'll find out that he was the most special person ever, or Harry Potter. It's very much in our mythology. Yeah. In some ways, they're kind of doing the same thing with Wanda, right? Like, she's had these powers. I mean, anybody who knows this much about the comics knows. There's like a whole bunch of like historical things that make her, the forebearer of prophecy.
Well, kind of like, so Wanda is a little bit more nuanced because she grew up with trauma and poverty. And then basically she was in a gilded cage. If you think about her adult life, she was in Hydra and up until the young adult. And then fucking the Avengers kind of kept her like a goddamn nuclear missile that they kept in a silo. And then by the time she's on her own, she's fucking, we don't know. I mean, her vision was on the run, but she never had like a stability that she could call her own. And then the most stability she got was this fake dream world. Now she's isolated in a fucking cabin in the middle of fucking nowhere. So
right.
Like I'm the most powerful person in the fucking planet, but yet I can't be around people because I'll ultimately end up controlling their asses and making them do what I want them to do. Because that's just how I roll.
Just without even thinking about it, off the top of my head, I got a problem.
Well, if you look at the like Ready Player One type of power fantasy, where like he grew up in a bunch of trailers stacked on top of each other because that's dumb as fuck, but whatever. And then you're like, oh, okay, he's poor, but this motherfucker has look like $1 million VR system in his fucking house.
Right.
Okay. And then, then he ends up being, it's Willy Wonka, so he's going to end up being... Yeah. And dude, so
Once again, we know, you and Willy Wonka. We'll save that for another time. Let's get back to WandaVision. So I will say, going back to the very first episode, I was so excited to see the Marvel logo after essentially a year away from Marvel movies. Like, we were coming up on a very long time since I'd seen my last WandaVision movie. I feel like what was the last? Was Endgame like the last Marvel movie we had seen? Spider-Man. Spider-Man Far From Home?
No, Spider-Man Far From Home.
Right. So we got that right before pandemic, and then boom, nothing. And so just seeing the Marvel logo and all the pages flash by, and it's like, oh, I love this. I miss this. Like, that gave me a real boost to be back, in the theater in a way. And, I'm watching it at my desk, on my computer, but was still so excited to see the Marvel logo again.
Marvel's in a tenuous situation right now. Because they basically are Tarzaning from one hit show to the next. But after I'm done with WandaVision, man, I'm like off from Disney Plus.
Yeah, that's Disney Plus's problem though. Like, Mandalorian's gone. I don't think I need this anymore. WandaVision's gone. I don't think I need this anymore. I need to see Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like, it was supposed to have come first.
No, I get it. Yeah, I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
it's not a great platform. Only in the sense that even though they're throwing everything at you,
no, it's not.
I feel like they're still winning. That's the weird part about it. Like Netflix is throwing 1,000 different IPs at you a week.
Yeah.
And I still don't fuck with them. Like,
But then they hit with Bridgerton, right? They got a hit back. I didn't watch the show, but I know it was a hit. They get a hit at once every month. Some show you have to watch. Everybody's talking about it comes out, and I feel like Disney just said, "Fuck all the other content. We're just going to come out with a hit every month that everybody's talking about, and not come out with like 1,000 things."
They were smart. They knew, maybe it's them remembering when they were, at the peak of Disney, on TV. Like if we give them to them weekly, they're going to stick with us because we're going to create something they really want to know. We're going to create questions they really want answers to.
Well, you can be a hot topic for 9 weeks instead of 1 week.
Right.
Like if you're making them watch it and then we're talking about it and so it's fermenting and it grew and it paid off. Same thing happened with Mandalorian. And so that's manna from heaven if they can get you to go week to week. People want to binge. People there will bitch and moan. I remember when The Boys didn't come out all at once.
Right.
Like, they downrated the show. Like I was like, you fucking America's full of brats or something. I don't know what's going on there.
Right. Well, we once again we had gotten used to it, and just in about half a decade. It hasn't been that long. Has it been a decade? Like Netflix has changed the way we think of TV.
Yeah.
And now it's like if I can't binge it, I might not be as interested. But now this is we're gonna give it to you week to week, and you're just gonna have to like it because you'll like it. And it's like, dang it. Okay, please stand by. You got me. Please stand by. You got me.
What's weird is everybody's basically packaging up all the different. So now Paramount's getting the streaming game.
I hate that. I want to save that conversation for another time. I hate the commodification of streaming services. I think it's going to be ultimately a failure for a lot of people. We don't want to pay everybody individually for their content. We need aggregators, which is why Netflix has been allowed to be what they are, and Hulu has been allowed to be what they are.
Well, sort of. So what's happening now is that the streaming is killing cable, obviously.
Oh, absolutely.
Internet in general. So they're basically, you got to get there. To me, in my opinion, you're paying for cable a la carte.
Basically, which is what we thought we all wanted back when cable was packaging all these random channels. But now that every channel is making me pay, $9, $10, $14 a month, it's like, this is dumb.
And extracting rents.
The problem is that those people in higher brackets can afford, to pay. I make just enough that $14 a month for HBO doesn't hurt. But every time I realize I'm still paying it, I'm like, I need to go ahead and cancel that. But usually by the time I realize it, something new is coming out. But there are a lot of other people who cannot afford that. The majority of America, can't afford to keep giving that $14 a month up. So that's the part that's going to get them. Like everybody, not a lot of people are going to have Paramount Plus, my guy. Like they're just not. Peacock, or there's like so many of them at this point, and the more of you create. And one of the reasons we liked what's his name TV, network TV, is because of the commercials. They were paid for passively, and we were all right with that.
Yeah. Well, shit. I don't know how much commercial TV you watch now. It's a fucking wasteland now.
Oh, it is. It's very sad. It's very sad.
It's all medical ads, alcohol ads, lip filler ads.
It is very sad.
And then go ahead.
I don't know. I was just going to say, speaking of commercials, but commercial TV is really floundered and is dying. And
that is a good segue back into WandaVision.
Right. Because they never explained the commercials. I know you're probably oh no, they were a David Lynchian piece of her psyche. So I get it.
They weren't. The first one was the bomb.
Yeah, I get it. But also, you can't give me a moment of exposition that says, why did that just happen? And then somebody's like, you know what? That's probably inside of our weird brain.
Just have this conversation. They don't need to fucking phones feed y'all everything. Like, shit.
Boo. I feel like part of my frustration with the show is there were a lot of unanswered questions.
And that's what I like about it.
You like unanswered questions, but are you sure?
What do you think?
Red herrings. Red herrings.
What do you think's unanswered?
Red herrings? You want me to talk about my red herrings?
No. What do you think's unanswered? Red herrings is like, look over here, but then like the Ralph Boner thing was a red herring. I'll give you that.
Ralph Boner was a red herring. For certain, particularly since we're bringing to it all of this context. Who was Jimmy Woo's informant person who was in witness protection? Never answered that question.
That's unanswered.
That's madly unanswered. Like they make it seem like Dottie's mad important, but in reality, she's just a person. And so it's like, hey, if you misdirect me like that, like, if you do that, I'm going to be spending the next few weeks trying to solve this puzzle only to find out I've been trying to fit two pieces together that don't fit. I feel like those are the main three. The commercials kind of being okay, it makes sense if you look through the psychology of who Wanda is. The Dottie thing is kind of why were you making it seem like this is more important than it was? I felt like the first two episodes.
You know why do you think they red herring Dottie?
Because they wanted to misdirect from Agatha, most likely.
Well, there you go. Because I'm telling you, had they not done it, then you would have been pissed off that you figured out it was Agatha all along sooner.
I mean, I kind of knew it was Agatha.
I felt like it was too easy. I mean, all the comic book nerds knew, but the average, but even as a comic book nerd, I wasn't 1,000% sure how they were going to integrate her. Like, maybe they're doing that because they weren't really showing you her doing anything aggressively against Wanda.
Yeah.
You know, whereas the Dottie chick was the first chick to kind of come out of it. But here's what I like the Dottie thing, because I already watched it a bunch of times. Just the whole thing is, imagine if you're controlling the world, but in this simulation that you're controlling, somebody's still coming at you.
Right.
And so it lets you know that you're kind of, you know, flagellating yourself a little bit. Like, I need to be treated like a less than. I just want to be treated. And so
there are always hierarchies, and that even in the perfectly created paradise, you've created a hierarchy where you're still not at the top, which is interesting.
Well, you start at the top. You want to pretend like you're not at the top,
right?
So I got another layer of commentary on this that I feel like could be intentional, but I could be reading into it. But it felt a lot like it was a critique on white women in America.
Go ahead. Talk your talk.
And their social stuff. Like, because in the beginning, you're like, she's totally a victim who's doing this to her.
Yeah.
Then you find out, like, hey, you got a lot more control over the situation than you think you do.
You do.
Then the black chick comes in and tries to, like, say, and then you turn on her and even do the mean point where the other white lady is leading you away from her. And so this felt eerily familiar to, like, you know, 53% of the country voting for something terrible. And so, not to get into that, but you can talk that talk. Weird commentary in this where I feel like, hey, you know, you're like super powerful, right? Like, we're trying to help you, but we're trying to help you help us. Because, you know, and then even at the end, she's like, I never meant to hurt any of you, and you were supposed to be. She actually, to circle back around, she sounded very liberal, right?
Yeah.
Like I didn't mean for these programs to hurt you.
Right.
Like, I thought it would keep you in a nice stasis.
My bad. I'm gonna just go ahead and get out of here and leave the destruction behind. My bad.
Exactly.
My bad.
Exactly. Even though I got the power to actually fix your problems.
Right.
Like your physical, like I can make your buildings be fixed.
Right.
I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it.
Right. My bad, dog. Sorry, dog.
And so that's like a perfect analogy. I'm not blaming the problems on white women.
What happened to the beekeeper, Terry Huddleston? Are we supposed to
The beekeeper is an unanswered question.
Yeah. Particularly since you made it out to be like this is something important. And I'm not saying I thought he was going to become Swarm like some of the other, like people had so many theories about it. But
I'm so glad they didn't do it.
You threw this dude into the world, but then was like, we'll solve that problem. Like he doesn't.
So what do you think the purpose of the beekeeper was?
Just to show the weirdness of the outside world intruding. And
you almost had it. That's one, but it served another subliminal purpose. Showing that sword logo.
Oh yeah. Oh no, absolutely.
Because you got to remember, we had up until that point seen the outside world yet.
Yeah.
But they had to seed that sword logo in. So when she saw it on Monica, it had like that's why. Because even internal to the internal story, we got to go, that's why she's tripping, because she saw it on once again, because you don't know that she's already knows about sword and stole the body and all that shit. So in a retro, you're like, man, that beekeeper shit was useless. But to me, that was the first seed of the.
It was part of it, but I feel like you could have integrated, or at the very least, like, is that dude okay? Are any of these people okay?
I think the only reason why these issues are issues is because of the thing that helps the show, which is the time spread. Right? You have too much time to think about it.
Yes.
But,
yes.
And so I'm not gonna
because you have so many questions after every episode. You have so many unanswered questions that they're starting to build at a certain point. And even when they answer questions, it's not always the question you want an answer to. And then you're like, okay, so this is starting to slot together, but it's like doing a puzzle and there's still some extra pieces. And you're like, wait, I got I got the 4 boundaries here of a puzzle, but you gave me some pieces that were really throwing me off the whole time.
Yeah.
And now I find out these are just extra. They just threw extra pieces of the box
I get it. And I think it was needed to keep people. You can't trick people today, all right?
True.
I felt like
masterful magician act. Definitely.
Yeah,
I will say.
Even leading the nerds off the set.
Right. Like, nerds got so far into their own navels with Mephisto on this.
It was embarrassing.
It was weird. Like, wow, we're still looking for him. 2 episodes left. I feel like we should give this up. It was Agatha all along. Let's just go ahead and go with that. It's her versus Agatha now. And that's just going to be what it is. But no, they're like, no, Mephisto.
They tied up the emotional core of the story is that, you can't, live in a frozen conservative fantasy land.
Oh, yeah. I felt like they did that well.
And so, to me, that was the thing they had to nail, and then everything else I can forgive, which I have. And then, we haven't even talked about, the remember when I was watching Age of Ultron, I didn't like the movie. But
I remember you were disappointed.
They missed some tropes that they could have really capitalized on, which is that you have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. You got Tony Stark is the creator, and then he creates this sun-like entity in Ultron that's going to be his offspring. Like he's literally an Iron Man. And then you got the Holy Spirit in Jarvis that pretty much becomes a Jesus figure. And they kind of fucked up those.
Who has to die and come back as Vision.
They didn't use it right. Whereas I did love the WandaVision made Age of Ultron better for me. It's retroactively making me hate it less. It's still a shitty in and of itself thing, but they picked apart the gems out of it and highlighted those even more so. Where I'm like, all right, okay,
I'll allow it.
I'm
cool. Yeah, that's one of the main benefits of Marvel having told this overarching, 27 movie story is that sometimes the stuff that comes after makes the stuff that comes before a little less bad. Like, okay, Thor: The Dark World, Iron Man 2 is, all of your missteps seem to be a little less salty because I get it in context of what you pull from it. You pull the better. It's similar to comics, right? You pull, there's a lot of crappy comics out there. You just pull the good gems out and you keep moving. Like, okay, it happened. Yeah, whatever. But you'll like that issue a little more after you see the other stuff we did with this character.
So,
I feel like, what was it? Thor Ragnarok made me, reinvigorated my Thor.
That was only a good one. That was only a good one.
Yeah.
That was only a good one.
And I feel like Avengers made me like, okay, Thor 1 isn't so bad because I like him in Avengers 1.
Thor 1 was,
It tried.
Thor 1 and 2 were like early 2000 superhero formats. Like So my rule of thumb with superhero
push the boundaries
is that you can't do a superhero movie. And I know you're like, what the fuck?
No,
you have to do a genre. You got to do a genre movie with a superhero skin on it, much like Star Wars is a fantasy movie with a sci-fi skin on it. And that's
it can't
what
be a
makes
Superman movie just for the sake of a superhero movie, which in many ways WandaVision is. It gets into superhero stuff, but it's largely genre. This weird sort of once again,
it's David Lynch with a superhero skin on it. Yeah,
right.
They picked a really interesting genre because Lynchian is like his own fucking genre, which is amazing. much like Tarantino is to a degree.
Yeah.
Because he's got just enough of a alchemy.
Yes.
That,
well, he knows how to mix. I mean, Tarantino's biggest trait is that he knows how to mix all the things we love about entertainment into a narrative that, for the most part, isn't the most original, but it feels original because he's genuinely remixing.
He's a very, 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 very good thief.
Yeah.
Like he's like one of the best fucking bank scene heisters there is. And then you'll be like, wait a minute, each shot is stolen from something he loved.
Yeah. And he just threads it all together. Like nobody knows what they're doing except me.
He just threads it all together, and it becomes like that when you take a fucking bunch of letters from magazines and make a hostage note.
Right. Except it's actually like this tapestry of art, and you're like, man, this is unassailable. Yeah, so
this is unassailable. And look, artist stuff, I get that. But
hey, there's only so many colors in the world, so you're just
he doesn't really melt things down enough to disguise it. I don't think he's trying to, one.
No.
But two, you can still see the shape of the other thing that he took it from.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, if you go back and watch Reservoir Dogs, then you go back and watch a certain set of films that I could recommend, and you'd be like, oh shit, this is exactly that. He just took that and then took this from this movie, and so it's like 4 different movies
spliced together. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's what he's great at, and he does it amazing.
He is. I've struggled with it. I fought for and against it, and now I've learned to be like, you know what? He's really good at co-opting other people's stuff.
I mean, in many ways, that's what, to bring it back to WandaVision was taking tropes of sitcoms and building this Frankenstein out of it for the show that is, a lot of people process their trauma through television. What if a superhero did that?
Yes and no. Once again, it's funny because you got to think of the meta. Disney owns most of the shit that they were talking about. And so, the Dick Van Dyke Show and Bewitched, all that stuff was influenced by early Disney.
Yeah.
It's this weird. So they've been doing this stuff for so long.
Yeah.
That it's not like they're just trying their hand out at a sitcom, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, no. It's Disney the movie. Yeah.
Disney knows how to fucking do a sitcom. That's the one thing they know how to do, other than cartoons.
Well, they know how to do story. They know how to do story across genres.
So, but it's amazing to me that people are giving them oh man, Marvel tried and they really knocked it out of the park. It wasn't like it was not going to be at least a good sitcom because they have you seen?
It's hard to know. It's hard to know for sure. Disney has had missteps for sure.
But what's funny is my kids, and even me, we were laughing at the sitcom as jokes. The sitcom part of the show was legit entertaining to my family, which I thought was interesting.
I thought they did an amazing job in the sitcom episodes of the premise is he's a robot, she's a witch. Nobody can know. Everything, all the jokes they make will fit that premise. I'm like, man, they were really mining that material, I thought. Now, I didn't think all of it was super funny, but it's I could see how a show written in the 1950s would try this very same premise in a similar way.
Yeah, it was cheesy. They went for the cheese. It worked.
Yeah, and it worked. I felt like it worked within this doesn't sound that much different than the old radio shows I still listen to, or, this could have been an episode of The Great Gildersleeve, for sure.
Now, I'll tell you what. So, White Vision, man, I was so over the moon. I popped so hard for White Vision because I've always liked that Vision. That's straight out of the comic books.
Yeah. White Vision is straight from the comics. I thought when Vision fell to the ground, they were going to do are they doing White Vision? If they bring him back in the next movie, are we going to get White Vision? And then, several years later, we get White Vision. So I was definitely surprised and amused.
My biggest gripe with classic Vision in the movies is that he looked too damn nice. So, because Vision in the comics always had this menacing look on his face.
The emptiness of his face.
You never knew if he was going to turn into Ultron one day or not. And I was so glad that the new White Vision had, like, they got rid of the eyebrows and he looks fucking evil, like he'll eat your fucking face.
Right.
Yes, I mean,
when he grabs her by the face and he tries to crack her head open, you're like, oh man, she's looking at him, trusting him because she sees her lover's face in it. But I'm like, I don't think you can trust him to put his hands on your. Oh no, he's trying to kill her. Okay, let's take a break real quick anyway, because we're at another half hour, and then we'll come back and talk some more WandaVision. And welcome back. We're going to talk some more about WandaVision with Terry Huddleston. This episode of Hall and Hudd.
Hall and Hudd.
There you go. Two detectives in the 1980s driving a sports car. White Vision. We were talking about White Vision before we left, and you were saying...
I just love how menacing he looked. The menacing look on his face, and I did love the fact that they did other big fight scenes. And it was going to go Dragon Ball Z for a second.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
they settle in and do a philosophical debate.
Well, you know what it reminded me of? It's an old British show called Red Dwarf, and they had a android character on there, which Vision's makeup actually is very reminiscent, so I'm pretty sure they're aware of that. And they would do stuff like that all the time, where they would play with conventions. And so, of course, Living Machine would be like, wait a minute, elaborate on that. Like, hey, actually, you're the Vision, so you got to destroy yourself.
Right. I kind of thought that was what he's going to say. And then he's like, yeah. And he's like, well, let me see. Which one is the Vision? And it's like, well, under this circumstance, both could be neither interesting. You know.
I dug that.
That if you're anything, and that's definitely a knowing himself kind of thing. Like, I know me. Sure. If you throw the right question at me, I'm going to pause for a second and go, interesting. Okay, hold on for a second here. No, I see your point.
Paul Bettany's voice and his temperament as Vision, it's just, he's so wholesome.
Yeah.
At the class, but then Red Vision was like a Terminator. I loved it.
Yeah.
And so it was a good range. I know they kind of digitized his voice a little bit, all that, but he gives me the Superman vibes that I never get off of Superman.
Right. I think it's been interesting because Paul Bettany got to play so many different versions of Vision. Like, he seems like an actually very affable, likable, nice guy. Yeah. And so when he was playing like television dad Vision or television husband Vision, he's like, oh, he's going to kind of be a little bit more in his range than when he's playing the robot, the voice, He's been
in a lot of stuff that I used to watch. I'm an OG Paul Bettany fan. He was in a lot of indie movies, and he was in a movie called Legion and a movie called Priest that I like.
I don't know either of those. Yeah,
the AA, instead of AAA, they're AA movies. One is about a bunch of demons attacking this restaurant, very small, one location movie, but still fun. And the other one is about like this future sci-fi kind of gothic vampire hunter. It's like wild. I was like, man, I loved it. Actually, Carl Urban was the villain in that one.
Interesting. So, Carl Urban could be a good villain. Yeah.
He actually was a good villain. Like, it was pretty much like an anime. Like, Priest was like a live action anime.
Nice.
But Paul Bettany's the main character in both of those movies, Legion and Priest. So check him out. Yeah. So he always played badasses actually in movies that I saw, and so he kind of like nice guyed up for Marvel. So like he got he's probably typecast as the nice affable robot guy, but he was a damn badass in the movie. So he's got range, I guess is what I'm getting at.
One thing we haven't talked about in this is Monica Rambeau. So far, we've kind of held her back a little bit. Like, we briefly brought her up a second ago, but
we brought her up.
But we haven't really dug into.
I feel like we're doing exactly what the show did, where they brought her up
and dropped her and then brought her back real quick. And I really liked the scene of her getting unsnapped and then she's in the hospital. I was like, oh, this is kind of a good anchor here because this is such a chaotic. We're already in this thing that already feels chaotic, and now this person is waking up to another chaos. and they're messing with us. We're unsure of her fate from the last episode. So is this something new? Is this something old? What's happening? I liked Tiana Ferris. I was definitely rekindled my huge crush that I've had on her since she was in a variety of movies, including Chirac and some other movies where she played the love interest. And she was also on Mad Men, I believe, right?
Maybe. I couldn't finish Mad Men, and
you bowed out by then. Yeah.
Yeah, it was tough. That was I tried multiple times.
It's okay. Sorry. You don't have to. You don't have to. We're not gonna.
And I like marketing. I like the world of marketing and all that, but it just felt like I was watching my term that I came up with for something else. But I call that genre whiteploitation TV.
Yeah.
As opposed to blaxploitation, where it's just like, okay, y'all just gonna do white fantasy TV where it's, remember when, you could, and we do have this conversation about, but it was just like, I couldn't anchor myself to any of the characters. And it wasn't because they were, where their skin tone was white, it's because their culture was white. Like I couldn't even.
Right. Well, it was in many ways, it was definitely a white people idealized, how they've idealized themselves in the past.
Sure.
Which made them in some ways even kind of broken.
Idealized flaws. Even the flaws were white people idealized.
Right. Yeah. And I'm not going to re-legislate your feelings about Mad Men. I just want to talk about how much I've been in love with Tiana Ferris since she showed up in Dear White People. And like I said, Chirac, she did show up in Mad Men. I'm checking her IMDb right now. And, have always found her to be
Dear White People. Was she in a TV show or she in the movie?
She was in the movie. She was a
okay, I still probably did remember. I did like her features because she is unmistakably black. Like she's not ambiguously black. She's not, she's got those cheekbones and she's got a larger nose and lips and her eyes. Like, so she actually looks like a character I would draw if I had to pick like a generic black girl character. Like she's like my starting point template in a good way with the big hair and all that. Like,
she's gorgeous. She's gorgeous. And I felt like she did a lot with a little. She wasn't given a lot as Monica. I mean, she's given a few scenes of having to sort of be in charge and show a little bit of power, but she made the best of what she had. So
if you think about it, they kind of played her off like a black Supergirl.
Yeah.
Like she's very vanilla in her like personality.
Yeah.
But she's very heroic.
Yeah.
And assertive at the same time. Like she's not a Mary Sue where things go right and people are going, "Oh my God, you're so pretty." Like
we have to listen to what she says. Yes.
She's like, "Hey, I'm going in." Like she's doing something like if it was a male character, you'd be like, "Well, yeah, man, aggressive." So she's very much a superwoman, Supergirl type of archetype. Which as I wasn't wrong. I said this before, but when I was like, "Yeah, there you go." See, she's trying to figure out how to use her power. Somebody's gonna have to like tell her, like, okay.
Yeah. So I look forward. She'll be back in Captain Marvel 2. I look forward to seeing her in that. But I felt like she was really good. I've said, and somebody else said it before. If they just made a James Wu, Monica Rambeau and Darcy television show, I'd watch the heck out of that. Like, okay, I'll watch those guys run around solving problems for 6 episodes.
You could actually. So I'm not the biggest fans of Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. I know some people out there hissing now, but
no. The Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. show was not that great.
If they did like a Secret Wars type of thing where there's Skrulls and Kree and all that.
Well, they are doing Secret Invasion, so technically, yes, we're going to get that.
That's what I meant to say. I meant to say Secret Invasion. But
if she showed up in that, that'd be great. I'm all for it. Cut the check.
As a TV
give her a contract.
Yeah. When you got a regular guy solving crimes, and I got to track down. Pretty much, I just realized that, wait a minute, that seems like there's already a thing where regular guys have to track down hidden alien Men in Black. So they already got the template for that.
Men in Black, Supernatural, like there's a bunch of different versions of the X-Files.
I wouldn't want to go that dark. It would definitely be goofy like Men in Black.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying it's all over TV that you get, normal guy solves the supernatural problems. And supposedly a guy got a chance to pitch one. Somebody mentioned it on Facebook or Twitter, and he supposedly got a pitch meeting. So, kudos to that. I hope Jimmy Woo gets another shot at being in front of our TVs, because I love.
It's funny that because he's been around for a long time, and I've liked him for a long time.
Oh yeah, Daniel Parker.
His comedy efforts.
Yeah, he's also a rapper. Like, one thing that I found out, he's like a freestyle rapper, and he's really good. Like, if you YouTube him, he's got some really good rhymes. He's
got that plain John Doe face that you wouldn't assume he was good at anything. Yeah, and I think that's his secret weapon. And he's the face of a newly silent population as far as media is concerned, unless it was an action movie. Yeah. But now the Asian communities are finally, they're doing love stories and this other type of genres, or even sci-fi on Netflix. And so, it's just weird when you live in an American bubble. Like, you realize, like, there's
Asians have been around forever. Yeah. Monica, or the kids, we haven't talked about the kids here. The kids. She made 2 kids. Pietro, they had that whole episode where, they run around with Pietro. He's teaching them bad things. And the kids just sort of disappear at the end. We're just going to let them vanish.
Well, they had to get you to miss them kids. Yeah. Right? They couldn't make them so bratty where you're like, oh, fuck them kids. Yeah. So they made you endear to those kids. And so that way, when they're using them as the driving force, especially if you saw the second thread. Yeah. Yeah. And at the end of the TV show, obviously they're not.
Completely gone. Yeah.
And they're going to be a catalyst that you give a shit about. Like, oh shit, we want those kids back too. Those kids are normal. I fucking love the Wicked kid.
Yeah.
He was the Quicksilver kid didn't do anything for me, but the Wicked kid, I was like, this kid's adorable.
They chose pretty good kids to be the kids. It's hard to find good kid actors.
It's just, I guess they're going to just grow them up in the MCU.
More than likely. Everybody's been saying Young Avengers.
That's what I heard.
And it hasn't been substantiated, but man, there's definitely a case for Young Avengers for sure.
By the time Young Avengers pops up, though, what I'm saying is that those kids are going to
they're going to be teenagers. Yeah.
And so Disney,
they're going to be in their early 20s.
Yeah. Young Avengers ain't coming out for a minute.
Oh, no. We're still waiting on what even Phase 5 of Marvel's going to be. We're still in Phase 4. And Phase 4 was extended because of...
considered Phase 4?
Eternals is Phase 4, yes. That's what I was about to say. Phase 4 was extended because of, the world falling apart in this year-long pandemic we've been in. That's what I always thought was interesting. Like, I have to wonder if, in the conspiracy theorist brain of mine, did the rich people know? Because, man, Marvel came to a grind right at the end of this. And they were like, we'll drop Eternals and Black Widow, 2 properties that, if it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And we'll, go back to the drawing board of what our big arc is. Then this whole thing happens. And you're like, man, this feels real convenient. Like, nobody was going to be like, if this had happened in game year, do you know how mad we would have all been? Right? Like, we're waiting to see how this thing ends, and now no one can go to theaters. Oh, no, y'all better put that in theaters. Like, I would have been that. Right?
That's drawing one parallel for one single mega rich entity.
No. That's me being... I feel like it's all around, but that's also the conspiracy theorist in my brain that's drawing lines between things that aren't really lines. It's like, did more people high up know we were going to have this weird year? But I mean, ultimately, it didn't benefit anyone to have known. And how could you plan for something this big? That's wishing that there was someone at the top. There were, some God, benevolent God at the top that was pulling the strings. But in reality, just a bunch of crazy humans making individual decisions for their own well-being. The Darkholme was confirmed as the book Agatha was reading. There was a lot of speculation around what book it was. Somehow, Wanda got her hands on it. And that's an interesting, I thought they did a pretty good job of Wanda, because she's chaos magic, all you need to do is tell her about a concept. And it's not like Doctor Strange where it's like, now he has to go learn it. She'll be like, oh, okay. I could probably just make this up because I make up whatever I want. Right. she gets told about runes and she's like, all right, I'm gonna try that later.
That was cool.
She sees Agatha teleport. She was like, oh, I can teleport? Poof.
Well, it goes back to what I said before, where Marvel does a good job of showing you why you're rooting for the person you're rooting for.
Yeah.
Not that, I'm Wanda and I'm grieving and useless. It's like, oh, okay. We keep forgetting she will throw a car at your ass.
Right. Which is something she's done before. So it was like, and part of me, I actually cheered on that moment when she threw the car at Agatha, because it was like, oh, wait, she was trained by Captain America on how to use these powers. Like, she knows a good misdirect when the time comes.
Yep.
So, I felt like some of that was a little bit of a callback into how she was trained to her job while serving on the Avengers, right at Captain America Civil War, which was essentially Avengers 2.5 for certain. But yeah, overall, like I said, it was a show that started off slow. It made its way,
which I love. I love. Yeah,
it was slow weirdness. Like, what's even happening? What's this puzzle? We start to get more pieces of the puzzle that make sense, and then I felt like we got to the end, and I still felt like, okay, you told me a complete story. You've made this make sense in a way that it makes sense for what it is, and not for all the things that people brought to it. There was a lot of what people brought to it, assuming it would be this, and looking at the half a century of stories about these characters and thinking, oh, it's gonna have to be something like that. Like, it's gonna have to be Mephisto. I saw somebody made a joke that said the real Mephisto was the friends we made along the way. And I thought that was hilarious.
That's funny.
It was like, everybody was like, are you Mephisto? Is he Mephisto? Is she Mephisto? Is the fly in the room Mephisto?
I'm so glad. I guess I'm a troll, but I was glad they didn't go that route. Like I said, just not enough time to really flesh that out.
No. And then the Pietro thing, like I said, I'll agree with you. There wasn't enough room to introduce the X-Men. And yet part of me just sort of wanted, like, I would watch 2 more episodes if they decided, yep, this is what we're doing now. I would totally be in for something like that, and still looking forward to how they're going to solve the X-Men problem. But they got, decades to figure that out. Whereas, I'm a finite timeline person because I'm not going to live forever. So, tell me, when are the X-Men coming back? It's money. It's money on the table, right?
When the X-Men come out.
Money on the table, Terry Huddleston. I'll pay money. Take my money. Go.
Dope on the table. Mm-hmm. But they're going to do it.
Oh, absolutely.
They gotta set it up right. I mean, if you think about it, that's like a whole mill of a franchise. And so if I'm them, I'm definitely gonna, look, you get the Eternals out. So I think the Eternals are gonna be like the rationale behind the mutants, pretty much.
Maybe. They
do slot in. They do slot in. Like they pretty much made meta-humans. So they're the reason why there's a mutant strain to begin with.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. Yeah.
So I think that's going to be their way into showing.
I was thinking of the Inhumans, but yeah, the Eternals are also. A lot of. I
mean, the Inhumans was Marvel trying to double dip off of fucking mutants. That's what's funny about Inhumans.
Right.
It's like, where the Inhumans are definitely more carny, carnival freaks than the X-Men are.
Yeah.
They're, I'm a half fish, half giant type of, Yeti type. They would do crazy stuff, but I don't feel like the Inhumans ever took off.
No, they didn't. They tried. They tried so hard, but they never quite hit the same. Hell,
they even had that TV show that flopped real hard. Mm-hmm. But I heard mixed reviews about it.
I heard it was not good.
I heard it was not good too.
No one told me that it was a good thing.
I might check it out. What did they come out on?
It might be on Disney Plus now, to be honest. It was
that a Disney Plus show, though?
It was not a Disney Plus show. It was like a TV. It was on like ABC.
Oh, poor ABC.
Yeah, because, they're owned by Disney. Which is one interesting thing about these shows that they're doing. Right now, Disney is trying to release these shows on Disney Plus as fast as they can. But it's like, we know that you have a mechanism for producing television if you want. Like, ABC and the conglomerates produce 20 episodes of shows all the time. So why not just transition some of that over to get more money out of me from Disney Plus? Which technically they are. They produce a lot of content I don't care about.
But with the competition at that level is stiff for eyeballs. So
yeah, true.
Because what you're talking about is what Netflix is doing.
Yeah,
and I don't think they're really successful at it. I think they're desperate. They're basically, Marvel is shooting their shots They got a 6-shooter, a 6-shooter, but they're nailing every shot they take. Mm-hmm. Like I'm already more excited for Winter Soldier and Falcon than I was before. Yeah, I'm like, shit, if they nail this, they can't fuck that up.
Right.
And then the Loki show is going to be fucking off the chain. Come on.
I'm looking forward to the Loki show.
At this point. Like I said, at this point, I got total confidence in where they're going because I did not, like I said, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So
yeah.
It wasn't like I was.
So I will say that for this and for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., FX's Legion was definitely a reminder to me that you could do a much weirder show. Now that show sometimes is weird for its own sake of being weird. And sometimes when I watch some of these shows, I was like, just lean into the weirdness of this. Like, quit being so pedestrian that, you can't just go, balls out weird on something like this. I felt like WandaVision sometimes did, but also sometimes was like, no, we're going to ground it. She's just grieving.
Well, I think with Shackman running the show with an iron fist in a good way, it kept it more to where I don't feel like they had any wasted episodes. Yeah, Every episode had something that gave you a little story-gasm. Mm-hmm. That I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to research the hell out of this point.
They treated it. They treated it like a film that was told over 6 episodes, 9 episodes, 30 minutes.
Yeah, for sure.
And so my thing with some of these are some of what is going to exhaust people when it comes to some of this superhero entertainment is just acknowledge the weirdness of it. Just go ahead and be full on weird.
I think they're already ahead of you on that. Like,
maybe we'll see.
The next fucking thing, the multiverse of madness. Are you kidding me? That
we'll see.
Title.
We'll see.
Like it's not gonna be.
I have trust. I have some trust, but also like I said, Legion is one of the only things I think has gone so disorientingly weird with the concepts that I'm like, oh, you could really do this, and I don't know if I have any feet under me at all. And that's I have my own issue with the my first. Criticism of the new Superman show is, don't show me a Fortress of Solitudes, it's all crystals. Show me the weird, wacky world of Superman. Like, this is where an alien goes to hang out. Like, you don't just, Is
that the second episode or the first one?
Second episode, they show the fortress.
I haven't seen that one. I saw the first one and I'm like.
Yeah, the second episode shows the fortress and it's just glass and crystals. And I'm like, no. Show me, like, we love to see the Arrow cave in the first couple episodes of Arrow. Like, show me Superman's fortress with the Titanic in it and other weird. I'm going to be asking questions about what's that in the corner for days.
I often wondered why they haven't done a live action Batman show. I wonder if there's like a contract
probably people protecting the IP.
Because it's such a easy show to sustain for years.
Yeah.
I'm talking Walking Dead, Supernatural, driving into the ground levels.
Oh yeah.
Half detective, half vigilant.
There's probably some rights issues for sure. Because I know it's often been a thing where anybody who's tried, it's like you can't use the word Batman under any circumstance. So it's likely, Superman had contract problems for so long that
it seems like they just released that. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, a Superman and Lois TV show. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. I actually like it. I'm enjoying it. Yeah. But I also know that
I don't hate it.
The potential of it. Yeah. I'm looking at the potential of it more than what it currently is, hoping that it doesn't let me down, which I know it's possible.
It seems like it's going to be about as good or maybe a scooch better than The Flash. I don't know.
Yeah. With that as my bar, I'm enjoying myself so far and trying not to set my expectations too high on it. But
I like the first season of The Flash.
I love the first season of The Flash. It had its problems, but it was good. Which is why I know the Flash allows you to get a little wacky. Be a little wacky. Superman should be a little wacky.
They got him kind of, it's got the kid, one kid's emo, one kid's the I did like that twist, from what I only watched the first episode. So.
Yeah.
The fact that the emo kid gets the powers.
Right.
All right. We're doing Chronicle.
Yeah.
We're doing Chronicle here.
Or maybe they only both get like a half a cup of power.
That's what it seemed like they were going for.
Yeah. And I totally believe that by the end of like the first season, second kid will have powers. And, they'll throw us in the next season. Like, now what do they do? But we'll see.
Yeah. It depends on if they got it mapped out or not. But anyway.
I do believe somewhat. So yes, WandaVision, great time, great television. Highly recommend if you're a fan of the Marvel series. I don't know that we'll have to see by the time Multiverse of Madness comes out. It's like you have to watch it. I felt like WandaVision was about good enough. You didn't have to have seen all 27 Marvel movies to just enjoy it, but it helped. It helped to deepen some of the information you needed.
For sure. Yeah, they kept it pretty much. You had to watch Age of Ultron. Yeah, I feel like that's probably the only thing I would say would be mandatory.
Yeah. There was a viewing list that was released by Marvel, and it wasn't that many movies. It was, Civil War was in there, Age of Ultron was in there.
You turned down a little bit.
Ant-Man and the Wasp was in there, but not that many episodes. Of the 20 movies that you'd have to watch for some of this stuff, that they're pretty good at cherry picking and let you know. So Terry Huddleston, it was good to talk to you and talk through some WandaVision thoughts.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. I feel like this was one of those shows you need an 8-hour long show to talk about the show. And that's good. That's because there's so much to unpack. Like I said, Mandalorian doesn't have that much to unpack. It's very low calorie, high calorie, low nutritious value. Whereas this is a meal you gotta, WandaVision's a meal you gotta eat a little bit at a time.
Yeah, I do. Like I said, I do feel like they stuck the landing on this is a show about grief. And you didn't know that going in, but you slowly but surely were like, she's been through a lot if you think about what she's been through as a character. And they really made it like, well, wouldn't you also want to kind of hide out from the world in a much more magical reality?
I feel like it's one of those things that if you're being honest, you've done it. You've checked out.
You've tried to check out.
Or you've checked out. You put yourself in a fantasy world, whether it be Fallout 76 or Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and you let their problems be your problems because it's easier to conceptualize because they're going to get solved at the end, whereas you're not going to be able to solve 20, 30 years of parental trauma that you whatever
you've actually experienced. Yes.
So we'll probably be doing this again for Falcon Winter Soldier.
We absolutely will. And for the Snyder cut of Justice League.
Oh, the Snyder cut.
Yes. And I think that's going to be over either 4 nights or 4 weeks. I don't know. They said that they're going to split it up.
They're not going to release it all together?
Nah, I believe it's going to be split up. That's what I believe, because they released 4 different titles for it. So I'm thinking that means they're going to split it up over
days. God, what a shit sandwich, man.
Yeah, and it's going to be delicious, I think. I think it's going to be delicious.
Yeah. What's funny is...
Not in a tasty sort of way, but in a, this is, wow. Okay, so we're doing it. Yeah.
It's like watching somebody dynamite a building, where you just kind of want to see how it crumbles.
Right.
And which direction it's going to fall in. You're excited for all the most random reasons. But yeah, very cool. I will definitely be in on that. And, I will see you then.
Yeah. Okay. So it's supposed to premiere on HBO Max on March 18th. So maybe it is all at one time, but it's supposed to be 4 hours. So maybe we'll see.
4 episodes.
Yeah. Maybe either 4 episodes or just straight 4 hours. Maybe you can watch the whole thing in 4 hours. We'll see.
I don't know.
I don't know. Can you do a watch party on HBO Max? I don't know if you can. And then you can watch party on Amazon.
Yeah, I thought Hulu had that too.
Yeah, because if we could watch party it, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I've never done it, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's been fun, man. I gotta go.
All right, I will catch you on the flip side.
Yep. Catch you on the flippity flip.
All right, bro.
Bye.
Yep.
The Hallspace Podcast is brought to you by Hall Productions, LLC. Show notes and credits can be found at our webpage, thehallspacepodcast.wordpress.com. Any questions, comments, or concerns can be sent to us at thehallspacepodcast@gmail.com. The show is written by Daggerpin Davis. Music is curated by DJ Cabal. The show is produced by Chuck Jones and recorded at Slash and Trash Studios. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. and I hope you all have a good week. House Hall. We rise brilliantly.